Friends, we have been frequently talking about Brazil, and the UFO sightings of the South American country has been quite strange and lethal in some cases. Well, today we are talking about five small cases where alien humanoids have been seen by Brazilians, but the humans were never hurt or tormented in any way. Let's start. Faustino, the assistant engineer on the diesel freight train, had two encounters. The first one was when his train was slowed by a zigzagging UFO, and an earlier experience around 1950 as a teenager. He had accompanied a man and his son into the mountains to get some bananas. On their return at midday, Faustino was walking some distance ahead of the other man and his son when he came upon a UFO sitting on the ground. Nearby were a man and a woman. Both were around 6 feet tall and skinny. They were ugly and had wraparound eyes and were wearing long yellowish robes. Their arms were loaded with branches, and as Faustino called out to them, they looked at him, hurried into the UFO, and suddenly took off with a blast of air that nearly knocked him down. The UFO itself was big, silvery, and shaped like a squashed oval. The reflection of the sun from it hurt his eyes. In the morning, Maria was washing clothes in a pond when she heard a noise in the sky. Seeing an object coming down very rapidly, she hid in some trees and watched as it landed on the ground. Two beings emerged. They had small bodies, large heads, and wraparound eyes, and were greenish looking. They were talking to each other, but she couldn't understand what they were saying. The two spent half an hour picking up stones, pebbles, plants, and soil samples, all within 50 feet of the UFO. She was only 15 feet from them, but was quite frightened and stayed hidden. The two beings then entered the craft, which quickly rose into the air, spinning and leaving a sort of vapor trail behind. Maria was 9 months pregnant. She had gone to the farm to stay with her sister. She remembers the date she saw the UFO because it was just 3 days before her youngest child was born. Around midnight, one moonlit night in May 1974, Manuel, who was 47, and a friend, Pedro, had been fishing along the Atlantic coast 2 miles from his farm near Sierra. They were walking to another location when Manuel looked back over his shoulder and saw something that hadn't been there minutes earlier. About 40 yards away were three men standing near what looked like a jeep near the water. Manuel and Pedro were frightened. They ducked down and watched. The strangers were dressed in dark clothing and apparently did not see them. 5 times, the three strangers hurriedly side by side into the ocean, quickly returning to the jeep. They were wet and seemed to be measuring something with a rope. They said nothing and no sounds were heard. After about 3 minutes, the three climbed into the jeep and disappeared into the ocean with the jeep. Ferreira, who was 47, and his son, who was 21, were fishing in a river one night in May 1975. They had caught a fish and Ferreira had left his son to start a fire to cook it, while he went to fish further down the river. About 8 o'clock, he heard his son shout, "Father, someone is trying to catch me." He ran back and in the light of fire saw a reddish dish-shaped object as big as a car on the sand with three men standing near it. The UFO had a dome with 5 or 6 windows around it. One of the men was short, a stocky fellow, and the other two were tall. The stocky one had yellow clothes. The tallest one wore green and the other one was wearing a blue dress. He surprised them and they quickly entered the disc and went away. When the object took off, it gave all these sparks of rays of different colors and it went very rapidly. It lit up the whole area. He didn't see his son at first and thought they had taken him into the spaceship, but he had hidden in the bushes beside the river. Just before dusk one afternoon in 1976, Celia da Costa, then 9, was walking home from a class. As she passed through a patch of woods, she saw a light ahead. Seconds later, she came upon a UFO sitting on 3 legs in a dry riverbed. Gathered near it were 7 men, about 6 feet tall, in dark suits. They appeared to be surprised to see her and stared at her. One was kneeling and putting pebbles into a transparent bag. He spoke to her, but she didn't understand him. The men looked American, she said. They had normal mouths, hands, no hair. She didn't see the hair as it was covered by their clothes. They were wearing black boots that came to mid-calf. The man who spoke to her opened his mouth when he spoke. They didn't try to catch her. The UFO was round, silver-colored, had a door and 2 little round windows with dark glasses in them. She remembers very clearly seeing 2 red lights in the front and hearing a motor noise that sounded like a helicopter. She was afraid and had chest pain and ran back to the village and told some men who went back there. But the UFO was gone. But they found footprints and 3 square holes in the ground. Friends, some researchers suspect that much of the so-called activity of UFO crews on the ground is a deception, that the aliens are aware of the witnesses watching them, and that the gathering of soil samples or whatever is just a show, a display of some kind. One possibility is that they want people to believe that they are explorers from the other world. This transition from simple gathering to plucking of humans and dogs from the ground may be part of an evolutionary process. What we can say is that these crafts come in many shapes and sizes, not only in Brazil but throughout the world. And they have crews consisting of small creatures with large head or people who look like normal humans and sometimes both. Well friends, this is all for today. See you in the next episode. Till then, stay safe. Friends, this was our today's video. We hope you loved the video. Well, if you did, please like the video and share it with your family and friends. And if you have come to our channel for the first time, kindly subscribe to our channel and along with it, push the bell icon to get notifications for our new videos. So that's it for today. We shall meet you again with some interesting facts. Till then, Namaste.